So we're here in Nashville sitting down with Dr. Brice. Tell everybody watching, listening, just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a first-generation orthodontist from Nashville. Actually, I'm from Lebanon, a small town outside. If you ever heard of Cracker Barrel, we created that.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
I love that place.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And just a little bit about me. I'm married to a wonderful woman, Brooke, and she is definitely the better half, right?
Okay.
And we have a design and build business as well. So I design stuff and she builds it. So we have this reverse role, which is really fun, really cool. And we have a TV show as well, right?
Yeah.
And so we have a TV show.
3 seasons?
3 seasons of Making Modern with Brooke and Brice.
Yeah.
Which kind of documents our growth in this dual world of she's a pharmaceutical sales rep, I'm an orthodontist, but we're also this design and build duo.
Yeah. I binge watched the show.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that.
That was years ago.
Yeah.
And I learned how you guys got into it and started the construction and design business, which is from this house, right?
Yeah.
Tell us the story with that.
Yeah, man. We had a bad building experience, right? And so during this time, Nashville was starting to boom. People were probably getting work they shouldn't have got.
Yeah.
Really what it came down to was the builder on our project was building more like a spec home. We were building our dream home. And so halfway through, we had differences of opinions and we were like, hey, it'd probably be best if we just, pay you for your half and we'll just take over the build. Well, when we did it, Brooke started taking over the build, like almost being the GC, not knowing anything about anything. And so
she had never done anything like that.
She had never done anything on that scope. We've always been creative. Even when we were living in our little apartment, when I was in residency, we would build stuff. Yeah. And so what happened is I kept asking her about these things. I'd be like, hey, I really want this design here. And we couldn't find it anywhere. We couldn't source it. And so she'd be like, I'll make it. And so she just started making stuff. And then whenever the subs were here working, she'd be like, hey, can you teach me how to do it? And they're not used to a woman being on the job site. So they were willing to share information with her and all kinds of stuff. And they're like, do you care if we leave our tools for the weekend? And she was like, yeah, do you mind if I practice? And they're like, sure. And so she would lay all the hardwood floors. And they would come back and they'd be like, ma'am.
We don't have any work.
Yeah, we don't have any work. She's like, oh, don't worry. I'm going to pay you. Because what she learned is that this is worth way more than you doing the job for me. Now I know how to do it, right? You've taught me something. And so that happened. We started working with doing a couple of projects for neighbors, just for fun, family members. And then the next thing we know, people were like, hey, you should have a TV show, right? And we were like, yeah, sure. And long story short, our neighbors across the street, they were friends with a producer. And the producer came and was like, oh my gosh, y'all should have a TV show. And we're like, oh yeah, sure. And she was like, can we pitch a show about you guys? And the first thing I asked was, does it cost me money? Yeah. Because if it costs me money, absolutely not. Right. And then that just blossomed into having a couple meetings with Netflix and HBO Max, it was HBO at the time. And then the Magnolia Network. And now we're here.
Yeah. And can you talk about the future of TV? Do you know what that may look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we've taken a little bit of a break. Okay. And the idea is because we want to grow Elevation. We want to grow Deep South Modern, which is our construction company. And it was really hard to do that, full-time jobs, all these things, and film. Mm-hmm. So it made sense for us to be like, hey, let's take a little break. We were sacrificing a lot. We didn't get to go travel. We were missing key things people were graduating we didn't get to go to. We didn't get to go to weddings and things like that. So we were sacrificing so much that we were like, let's just take a little time off. If it's something that we want to pursue in the future, great, we'll do it. If not, then that's fine as well.
What's a typical week look like for you?
Oh my gosh. So normally Mondays, I am supposed to be off work.
Okay.
Mondays I'm supposed to be off work, and that's when I'm supposed to do construction stuff, design stuff. That's when me and Brooke are supposed to finalize our decisions. Tuesdays I go to work at 10 at my practice. So I wake up at 6. We eat. We talk about construction. I meet with subs. I meet with other vendors. and then I go to work.
Okay.
And then at lunch, which my lunch is from 3 to 4, I go and me and Brooke have like a phone call about construction projects. Right?
That's when you drink your water for the day.
That's when I have my first sip of water, right? And then I get up at 7, and me and her come home. We eat dinner. We talk about like the synopsis of the day.
Yeah. And
then we kind of set a plan for the next day.
Okay.
And then we're probably winding down about 9 o'clock. I'm in bed by 10. I do a little bit of catching up on world events. And then I do that every day. And then Saturdays, it's construction all day. And then we've tried to use Sundays as it is going to be the day of rest, right? And so we try to keep that. That's a new thing because we used to just burn and turn 7 days. And to be honest with you, Brooke does most of the heavy lifting, right? So our day-to-day, she's having to field a lot more calls than I am.
Yeah.
And she's having to deal with being on site and telling people like, hey, you did this wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do it right next time.
How many jobs do you guys have going at a time?
So we try to minimize it because she's full-time Pharma World, right? I'm a full-time orthodontist. And we try to keep it around 4 projects going at a time, depending on scale, right? So we have one that is a ground-up project right now. And it started off as just a small 1-car garage. Well, then somehow it blossomed into like this huge project of a 1-car garage on steroids that has a lift system in it. And then we have this huge outdoor patio that has an outdoor shower with this new custom pool. And it went from like...
Did they come up with ideas as you go? Or were you like, hey, you could... How'd that go?
It was a little bit of both, right? And so when we first started... I was like, yeah, this is great. We'll knock this out. No big deal. We'll have it done in a couple months. And then he was like, man, you think we should get a pool? And I was like, yeah, yeah. And then he was like, well, what about like a patio and stuff? And I was like, yeah, man, we need to do all that. And then so the difference between me and Brooke is I love to do big stuff. Like I don't want to do anything small.
But then she's like, hey, you know how much work that's going to be?
She's like, you know how long that's going to be? You know how much that's going to be in money? And I'm like, yeah, but like, does it matter? Let's do something cool. Like epic is like is a term that I want to do everything in. Epic. I want to make it epic. And so she's the more realistic one, but I think it's because she has to deal with it a lot more, right? Yeah. I can design it and then be like, tell me when it is installed.
Yeah, it parallels very similar in business with like a CEO and a COO, where the CEO is like very visionary, and then the COO is like, dude, I'm the one who has to make this happen.
Yep.
So you kind of have that balancing effect. That's really cool. What is the most favorite project of all time that you've ever worked on, you think?
Wow. I think we get this question often, and it's funny because I'm pretty positive my response has changed every single time I've been asked it. So I like grand projects, right? So there's certain aspects of each one that are absolutely amazing to me. Like we did our neighbors, and we did this really cool custom not a coffee table, but a table, like a dining room table. And it turned out really well. But I think if I had to put it to one particular project, we did a project of a kitchen renovation that was these walnut cabinets, and I loved them. They're so beautiful. It looks so luxurious, and it was like a double island kitchen. Yeah. So that to me is my favorite one. But all of them mean so much to me because we don't have kids, right? Yeah. So they're all our little kids, and it's fun, and it's fun to have all that stuff documented too as part of your life.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about wanting to do everything epic. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. So my mom used to always, I lived in that generation where she was like, you can be anything you want to be, right? Just go to school or work hard at it. You can do anything that you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, me being an only child, I sat there and thought about, like, I dreamed a lot. Like, I envisioned myself doing big things. And so I think I've just adopted this mindset of, like, let's do it big.
Yeah.
And whether that's a good thing or bad thing, I think that's my driving force. Like, I want to achieve something. And it's so funny because at this level, I have achieved things.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it's just like, I haven't achieved anything. I just stayed the course.
I heard a story today, actually, and it was somebody talking about a lady who attended a Tony Robbins conference, and the lady happened to be Oprah. And so they're asking her, hey, on a scale from 1 to 10, how accomplished do you feel? And the number she gave was a 3. You know, then that's just mind blowing.
It's wild.
You know, you're talking about a billionaire. But I think the takeaway for me is, like, you've never arrived. You know, like, you always want to be growing. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, young kid or in college or startup practice, which you just talked a lot about, or a billionaire. It's like, if you're not growing, you're dead, you know? So I don't know. I'm just kind of interested with you, like, that internal driver, like, what keeps you going, like, mindset wise? Do you have formulas or frameworks or things that you've pulled from other people, or is it just something kind of innate that you just are always driving towards something really great and epic?
Yeah, I think that there's a part of it that's innate, right? But then I also see other people doing great things. And great to me is not having a bunch of money. Yes, having money is important, but just having a bunch of money just to say that you have a bunch of money, that doesn't make sense.
It's like,
to me.
what are you doing?
That's right. And I actually like to see other people succeed. So I often tell Brooke, I like to see my friends and neighbors and stuff succeed in life, and that's motivating to me. Not because I'm comparing myself or saying, hey, I need to be like them or I want to be like them, but that it's possible. Right? My neighbor's 40 something, maybe 40, 42. He's retired twice already.
Wow.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm not jealous of that. I think that that's so cool.
Right.
Like, great, good for you. And then my other neighbors over here, you know, those guys, they get to go on vacations. Like, the first year that they lived here, they went to Italy like 4 times.
Wow.
And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this
So you can learn from what they're doing.
Exactly. And so the little tidbits about what they do and how they do it, to me, is very cool. And I'm very intrigued with just other people in general. I'm totally fine with being by myself. I told you that earlier. But I am genuinely intrigued by how you did what you did and how you got to where you are. So I like people. Like,
yeah. I like to, like you're saying, people with levels of success, hear their story, learn how they did it. And that's the funny thing too, is like all these people with specific frameworks, and you get into it and you're like, well, there is no one way to do anything. It's like so many people are selling info products with all this information, and it's like, what worked for you may not work for me, but I may be able to learn something from you that I can take and piece into what I'm doing. And that's kind of what I learned too, is like all these mentorships or, you know, all that stuff's great, but it's like at the end of the day, if you know you have to go for something and try it a certain way, even if you're going to fail, you just have to do it.
Yep. That's exactly what happened with my practice, right? So Elevation Orthodontics, I remember I opened and I told a couple people what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to make an adult only practice. And they're like, that's
why
dumb.
would you do that?
Yeah. Like, that's dumb.
Kids,
I'm like,
braces.
Yeah. They're like, you're cutting out all of the pie. Like, if the pie is this big, you literally cut it all out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to see if this can be successful. Now, are there easier ways? Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Is this challenging? Yes. But the point is, I had to see it. I had to, like, it was something in me that I had to see if it would work.
It was like a burning desire.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, I always talk to Brooke about this, and I say, man, you know what? If I didn't do this, I would always think, what if? And I think I can live with a failure
Sure.
more than the what if question. And because, you know, we often in life create failure as this big, like, negative act. But the reality of it is there's nothing in life that you've succeeded in doing that you haven't failed before.
That's right.
Think about it. When you walk, how many times do you fall down before you get to walk?
Hundreds of times.
That's what I'm saying. And like no one ever says, oh, you failed at walking, you should stop.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense, right? But in our minds, somehow failing is this big negative thing. But I'd say if you're not failing, then you're not pushing it far enough. You're not trying hard enough.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Psychologists break this down, and kind of the age when people stop being resilient to some degree, because kids are way more resilient.
Right.
Like, you know, I see kids, like my son's like a kamikaze. He's like 2, and I'm like, you know, he just pops right back up.
Yeah.
He's jumping off of couches and like, but even within kids' imaginations, you know, the things that they're creating, assuming that they're in good houses with good parents, nurturing that, it's actually quite amazing in comparison to like the status quo adult who's just stopped dreaming.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you only have one life. You like, heaven forbid, you know, we could be dead tomorrow.
That's right.
Like, what did you go for?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I always just think about that, you know, and that's what's so cool. You know, I know you guys don't have kids yet. I have 2. That's actually kind of the coolest thing about having kids, is seeing how they create. It's like, oh man, I could be more like that. And like, what is possible?
At some point, you start to lose that imagination, right? Because reality happens. But it's the people that are successful that keep some level of
going.
Imagination, right? And creativity. And I think that's one thing that Brooke and myself find so interesting about building and design, is because it gives us that creative outlet, right? It gives us, there's a problem, we're going to solve the problem by being creative, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that we find a lot of value in that. But, you know, I don't know. I think that I also always had this perception to be really wealthy, really, really rich, really successful, that you had to be this like bad, mean person, right?
Like, and ruthless.
Yeah, you had to be ruthless, right? And
Wall Street.
Because I kept seeing these people that were highly successful, but none of them were like what I wanted to be.
Sure.
Like, and then the person that I wanted to be didn't seem very fruitful as far as with income, right? And so it wasn't until, man, really about 5 or 10 years ago, I started seeing people that I was like, oh,
yeah,
you don't have to be like that to make a great living or whatever. I mean, you talk about my neighbor across the street here. The dude gives so much of his time, energy, and effort to things that don't have anything to do with. It's just he just wants to better everyone around, and that's inspiring.
Yeah. Well, I think people like that too. I don't know your neighbor, but if you saw him out and about, you may not know he's super wealthy. The people who kind of flaunt it are that stereotype of ruthless.
That's right.
And so, I thought the same thing. And I kind of even went through that phase to some degree in business where it's like, oh, I have to be this certain way. But I mean, really, it's just like, be yourself, you know, like, and you do have to check yourself for sure. I'm not saying like, if you're a selfish person, be yourself, but you know, you have to be true to who you are. And then also check yourself and like, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to improve? But yeah, that is kind of funny. When did you know that you wanted to like actually be a creator?
That was early on. That was early on. My mom, you know, she worked real hard to make sure that I was able to experience things in life that she wasn't when she was younger. And so how that worked is, you know, she was having to work a lot, and I played a ton of sports and things like that. But then she always encouraged me to be creative, draw. She put me in I was just talking about this today. She put me in tap dancing.
Really?
which was because I totally
That's
blocked
kinda
that.
unique.
I totally blocked that out of my mind, and somebody brought it up today, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I used to do tap dancing," and which is really comical. I wonder
How old were you?
I was like 5, 6, 7, somewhere around that age.
You got to find a photo and we'll like put it in the edit.
That's right. You know what's funny is I don't even know if I've even talked to Brooke about this. It's because I forgot about it. Like I literally forgot about it
I'm gonna tell her
until
as soon
today.
as she gets back.
And so yeah, she put me in tap dancing, and then she put me into like band.
What'd you play?
Saxophone. I wasn't any good.
I played clarinet.
I wasn't any good. Like, my reeds would always break, and then I would just like, so, but it gave me a sense of art, right? And so then as I grew a little older, I would draw all the time. I would create. Just was a natural progression for me, right? Maybe it was an outlet. Maybe I didn't have a brother or sister.
When did you know you were really good at designing, drawing? Like, oh, there's something to this,
Yeah, I think that really where it started, I got a condo, and I started decorating it, right? I didn't know anything about anything, but everybody would come over and be like, "Oh man, this is so cool! Like this is so cool!" And you can kind of tell the people that are just blowing smoke, but then you start hearing it like more and more, and I felt like I was always pretty fashion forward as far as like my attire, but that's when I started to realize like, oh, maybe I'm onto something. And then there were a couple of times that I mentioned things that I wanted in a design way before, like right, like. So whenever we were building this house 10 years ago, black faucets and stuff were not a thing. Like we actually had to go get some powder coated.
Really?
Because they weren't a thing. But then, follow it up a year or two later, they start to become a thing. And I started noticing that was a pattern. I was slightly ahead of the curve on a lot of things, just naturally.
Because you think outside the box.
Because I think outside the box.
Yeah. And it's similar with your practice. It's like, what's something I can do that's different?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sometimes that bites you in the butt, though.
It does.
Yeah.
I think it's more of artistry, to try something and go out on a limb. And, like you said, it sounds like you're okay with failing, learn from the failure, but at the same time, you want to see if something could work versus, well, I know this could work, I'll just go do it.
Yep.
You actually want to be more unique in what you're doing. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
How did you get into dentistry and then orthodontics? Like, being a creator and designer, like you say, you got into that early on. When did you go, oh, well, I want to be a doctor too?
So where I'm from a small town, and how we kind of grew up, like the most successful people were doctors and lawyers, right? And so that's all I knew. I didn't know that you could make money other ways. I just assumed that all the rich people were this, right?
I used to want to be Matlock, and I was homeschooled, so I'd like, Mom, I need to watch Matlock, like it's part of my school.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I knew I wanted to do something in medicine. And again, my mom put a lot of value into education. And I think that's just her upbringing. She realized that, if you had an education, it really it meant something at that time. And so really what happened is I got into where I had to make a decision. And I was like, man, I'm really not trying to be on call. Like, I'm not really trying to be anything in life or death. I mean, that feels cool, but when people die, that's not cool.
That's not cool.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I don't really want to do medicine because of that. And I said, well, what's something that I can use my hands and fix stuff and be artsy? And it was dentistry, right? And then once I got into dentistry, I hated everything about it. Dude, I hated all of the crown and bridge. I hated all
it's hard.
But you don't know that if you like it or not until you get in it. So now I'm in dental school, and I'm like, I hate this. I'll do it, but it's not that fun, right? I don't like perio. I don't like pulling teeth out. And so I was like, okay, what is a challenging residency to get in? And it was like, at the time, oral surgery and orthodontics were really challenging. And I was like, well, oral surgery, they're on call. They're dealing with all that blood. I'm out. Like, that's not really for me. I was like, let me try orthodontics. And honestly, I went after it because it was one of the most difficult things. And I felt like I want to see how far I can push this.
Yeah.
Like, let's see. And then somebody told me, they're like, oh, you're never getting into ortho. And I was like, cool, let's see. Right. And so that's really how I got into ortho. But what I found being an orthodontist, it is so much more than straightening teeth. I will say it until I'm blue in the face. It's so much more than getting the bite corrected. It's so much more than all of those things. I mean, you are literally giving people confidence to take a leap of faith to do other things in life. So it means a lot to me.
Yeah, it is amazing too. Like when you read there was 1 month, this was years ago, where I like dug deep into all the information about confidence and the impact that the smile makes, and even like statistics. And it is incredible. You know, even if you watch people's body language and how some people will talk, and there's even studies like this coming out of COVID with masks, like people are still masking up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's easier for them to be in public and wear a mask because they don't have to face maybe the shame or, you know, whatever it is, their image of their smile. And so, I mean, I'm in Embrace right now. I don't know if you can tell. You can see the elastic.
You sound good, though.
Yeah, I sound pretty good. Zach will tell you the first couple weeks, it was pretty rough.
I bet you it was.
Yeah. But you get used to it. And actually, the rubber bands help me. So, like, when I take the rubber band off, I feel like I just don't have as much control, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so the tongue can kind of go everywhere. But the elastics kind of give me that control to talk within.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds weird, but it's like the other day, Carter Thomas in Mobile is doing my treatment. He's like, hey, you don't have to wear your elastics in the daytime, just wear them at night. And I'm like, oh, I'd rather wear them in the daytime because they help me talk more normal.
That's right.
And I just won't wear them at nighttime.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that works.
Yeah. All right, fine.
But I've even noticed, and I didn't have a ton of stuff to improve. Certainly my bite is kind of in the focus this time around, but even the movement that I did get, I feel better about how it's looking and how I'm going to look when, you know, I get these things off my teeth. But like already it's more confidence than I had before, you know?
Well, you can now take a sense of pride, and it's one more thing that can kind of prop you up. And when you have these interactions with people, let me ask you a couple questions about the treatment. So how long until you felt comfortable?
Honestly, it was probably about 2 months.
Yeah.
Like I almost got to the point of,
let's get them
I'm
off.
just done. And then he gave me the option, and we'll put you in aligners. And I'm like, you know what? I tried aligners. I hated them.
Yep.
If I have the option to not, because the way that aligners work is you get into your day. And for me, I would want to go drink something or snack on something. And I'm constantly having to brush, put them back in. And so people just don't wear them. With Embrace, cosmetically and aesthetically, it looks great, but you can't take them off.
Yep.
So the compliance is there. And honestly, the improvement I've had in such a short time, it is an awesome technology. I don't know the future of it because I don't know how people will buy into it in masses, but it is really cool. And it's cool the way they designed it, and you can still floss.
Yep.
But it took me a while.
Yeah.
And then when he gave me the option, I'm like, we're going for it.
That's
like
right.
I'm going to do the whole thing. I'll be done, I think, in July.
That's great.
So
we treat a lot of patients with Embrace, right? And so when I remember when I first started, I was kind of coached up on the product, and they said, tell them it'll take 2 weeks for them to feel comfortable. Well, 2 weeks goes by, and people are calling me like, Dr. Brice, what have you done to me? And so now I'm a lot more knowledgeable with what the real expectation are, what the real life situation is. And the reality of it is it takes at least 21 days for you to start feeling like I can do this. The day 10 is probably the worst, right?
Yeah.
Your tongue is getting beat to death.
Yeah.
But once you get past that little hurdle, there's always a little hurdle. You get past that hurdle, then things start to be a little simpler.
And it's a trade-off, right? Because you could just get braces strapped on,
That's
but
right.
as an adult, do you want that?
That's right.
you know? So yeah, it's a trade-off. And then like with the liners, it's like some people may be very compliant. I just wasn't.
You're the perfect patient for us. Like, right, we have these options and we actually don't care which option you pick. We just want you to get to your goal. We want to be an asset to help you get to your goal. And I tell that to every single patient. I said, listen, I don't care if you pick in-brace, traditional braces, or Invisalign. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you reach your goal. So I'm going to be your quote unquote personal trainer during this fitness routine, right? And so I feel like that resonates with people because at the end of the day, no one wants to be in treatment. They want the goal that comes along with treatment, right? Yep. And so we stay hyper focused on that. Sorry, I derailed our conversation.
No, that's
here.
good. I mean, it's cool to talk to orthodontists and actually be in treatment. So I'll even like take rubber bands out and then jump on a call and be like, oh, I got to put my rubber bands on. And like I was playing around with the guy the other day. I'm like, I'm going to turn my camera off because, you know, it's kind of gross. He's, oh, no. Leave it on. Yeah. And he's like wanting to see it. I'm like, okay.
Nerding out.
It's pretty funny. But it's been interesting. So I had braces when I was 15, 16, 17, didn't wear my retainer, went through Invisalign a couple years ago, and now I'm in brace. So I've like done it all now. Yeah. And there's little cosmetic things I want to do after. Like I have some, I forget what it's called, like at the gum line from clenching, like little divots.
Little recession.
Yeah. And so I'm going to have those cleaned up and do some things. But, you know, it's kind of neat to be working in dentistry and orthodontics and helping people grow, but then also going through different treatments myself and learning more about it. Like I had my tongue lasered because I had a bad tongue tie.
Yep.
So Carter's like, well, I mean, there's no downside. Like you may not have really an upside this late in the game, but let's go ahead and do it.
Well, you know, and you're getting to see it from a different perspective, right? Yep. So like now you own a marketing company, right? And you're marketing to that clientele. You're marketing to you, right? So now you have a different perspective of what's important and what's maybe less important.
I wanted to go through as much as I could so I personally know and can relate more with the audience that I actually work with day in and day out.
I think that's very smart. I used to try all of the stuff on myself that I would do on the patients. I would try it first. And so like if a rep came to me with a new product, whatever it was, I was like, okay, make sure I have one. I'll try it. If it's something that I think that there's value in, then great, I'll provide it. But if it's not, then I'm not going to, because it's the same thing with the design, right? Anything that you ever hear me or Brooke promote is something that we believe in, like something that we would use in our house, something that we would put in someone else's house, or our mom, our parents, whatever. Because that is, I mean, it has to be something that you're willing to co-sign on, and to the point where you would use it yourself.
Yeah, stand behind it. Yeah. So you talked a lot about startups today, did a whole course, made it through 4 hours of filming. You're kind of used to that though. Yeah. I'm curious to get your thoughts and I have my own, but you know, there's more people going through orthodontic residency than ever before. And actually now it's predominantly females. In addition to that, just where we are economically and how expensive everything is, they're coming out with more debt than ever before. So going in and actually creating a startup right out of the gate is not as popular. It's not as feasible, you know? So the path to getting your own practice is a little bit different. What was that like for you?
Yeah. So I think I don't have very many regrets in life. One of the regrets I have is not starting my practice the day I walk out of the door. Yep.
Okay.
I don't care about the amount of debt that I have. I don't care about any of that. And the reason I say that is because the moment that you get used to living life at a certain standard, it's hard to go down.
Yeah.
Right.
Habits.
So you start making money, and it's typically feels like a lot of money to you. Right. You go from making no money to some money.
You're able to pay your bills, take home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you experience vacations, you experience maybe a car or house or something like that. And then when you go to open your practice, you have a savings and things like that, but you have to take a step back. And if you never got to taste those things. A startup out of day one would have been great, right? Because in 2 years, you'll be doing really good.
Right.
Another thing that I think is a common fallacy with coming out, you are going to get mentored, right? So you think you're going to go be an associate somewhere because somebody's going to mentor you. Somebody's going to show you the ropes. They're not. It doesn't make sense for two orthodontists to be there, right? That doesn't. You're either replacing someone or you're taking over their practice, kind of thing. They're not going to work there with you. That doesn't make sense,
right?
And so you don't really get mentored. I mean, yes, you maybe have someone that you could ask a question to,
sure,
but for the most part, you're by yourself.
Yeah, and there may be exceptions,
That's
but
right.
yeah, you're going to get thrown in sooner than later.
That's right, because you're an asset to them.
Right.
You need to make money, right? And so I think that all of the things that I learned during that time, I could have learned with a small patient population and done the exact same thing and just got there quicker. And then also you have this student loan debt, right? But you can do programs like Earn As You Go, right? So or it's like income based, right? Well, if your income is $0 because you started a practice, you have to pay back $0, right? And so, I mean, you got that thing too. So that's the only thing. Now, moving forward, if there are a lot of responsibilities to owning your own business, a lot more than you can ever imagine. Like, I mean, you understand, but a lot more than you can ever even fathom if you were just if you don't know, right? Stresses that are incredible, a lot of pressure. I don't think I've really truly not succeeded at things that I've put my mind to. Dental school, I thought was relatively easy. Boards, all those things are relatively easy. Sports were relatively easy when I was a kid. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. Not saying it's going to be hard for everyone, but it's very difficult. It was very difficult for me. So I do see value in being like a lifelong associate. Right? Go make money, buy real estate. Go
live a good life.
Go home. And don't worry about it. So there's this weird dichotomy right now.
Yeah. I mean, I love that approach because you just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. And part of that is a time thing. So I'm talking to people and they've been working an associate job 3, 4, 5 years. Now I'm going to do a startup and then I'm going to slow roll it because I'm still going to have to work this associate gig. Now, that can be strategic and people can do well that way, but to your point, where could you have already been with your practice in that amount of time?
That's right. And then like, let's say you start feeling the pressure to start a family, right? Well, the longer that you hold off, there's never a good time, I don't think, right? If you really look at it on like being logical, there's never a good time to like add some family members, right? But that's life. That's how it works. So if you can, as your practice is growing, you can, maybe not have kids. Great. That works out perfect. As your kids get older, they're going to need more, right? Whether it might not be more holding and stuff like that, but they're going to need more. And so there's no real good time. You just got to go. And the sooner that you do it, the easier it will be. Once you pass that initial hump.
What do you think orthodontics is going to be like in the future? Because there's a lot changing.
There is a lot. Dentistry in general is pretty typical or pretty slow to change. Orthodontics is relatively slow to change as well. However, I think that as aligners continue to get better and better, you're going to see Invisalign lose market share, which I think will bring the prices down a little bit for the providers, which is good. I don't know if the DSO model has busted. But it's not trending in the great
it's not
direction.
going in the right direction.
And so I actually think that that's great. Not saying that anything was wrong with that.
Sure.
I just think that they overinflated prices for the average person, and maybe you don't get that hometown feel.
I'll give you my 2 cents on the DSOs and OSOs, and we work with some of them in very limited capacity. Meaning, if a practice is acquired, they may keep us around. And I think some of the smaller OSOs and DSOs that are more doctor-led, doctor-owned, the board, is predominantly doctors. Even though there may be things they could certainly tighten up on the business side, it maintains the soul of the practices.
Yeah.
And when, and again, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but the more and more I see these larger OSOs and DSOs aggressively kind of buy up the practices that are open to that, on the backside, I don't know that I've talked to anybody who's really happy.
Yeah.
Have you?
Mm-mm. No. Everybody, it's this common denominator. Well, first of all, they get those golden handcuffs, right? So they're stuck working in the practice that they're not controlling anymore, and it's way different than they're used to. And then when they look back on it, it doesn't seem like they're like, man, that was the best idea I ever had.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
And I do think some people I've talked to it was the best decision for me because of X, Y, and Z, or my family. But in terms of their actual profession and still going to work, they don't like it. And then most of the teams don't like it because what happens is it starts to run like a mill, and so it truly becomes that corporate type of model that maybe you already worked in on the come up, or you didn't want to work in, which is why you started your practice, and now you're forced to operate that way.
Yep. Whenever I came out of school, I fell in this weird time when I had orthodontists that were about 5 to 10 years older than me. They bought all of the practices of the people that were retiring. But I'm now too old to be an associate and work under somebody to acquire their practice. And then I'm too young to buy the practice from the people that are 10 years older than me because they're not ready to sell.
Right.
So for me, starting a practice was the only option. I mean, I literally tried to buy something that made sense, and nothing made sense because they had all recently sold, or they sold to OSOs, or there was just nothing available in my area. And so startup was the only way that I could do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. I really believe that private practice will still drive dentistry and orthodontics because, I don't know, I just don't really see a way with the larger companies unless they start to maybe do it a different way.
But whenever you're so focused on the numbers, you lose a little bit of that soul, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And so you got to keep that in mind. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that you'll see private practices happen. The only thing that I see, you might see less people just jumping into it because they can have a nice living without having the stresses of owning the practice, right? I mean, because there is value in that. There is value in that. I think one of the big trends is going to be AI, right? So as soon as we are able to print aligners, like just print the aligners, not print a model and do a suck down, but actually print the models, the market will change a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you already using AI like GPT, or like how are you using that even in, your design business?
We use a lot of ChatGPT stuff to one, like for content. I think for content is really helpful, right? So it helps you kind of, what we use it for is to help us create ideas. Like it doesn't create the ideas for us, but it puts us on at least something to think about. And it's like, oh yeah, now it sparked something, right? And so we will use it a lot for elevation orthodontic captions and stuff like that, like things that will get us going there. But then also it gives us ideas that maybe are simplistic ways to connect with our fan base too. Yeah.
I mean, we use it all the time at HIP, and I don't think AI will largely replace humans. I know with coding and things like that, it will, maybe with writing contracts and legal jargon, but I really think it's going to be more powerful than the internet, but it'll be like the internet and other forms of technology that have happened, over the years, in which the people who embrace it and use it will be the dominant force,
Yep.
And so I'm using it as much as I possibly can. And it's pretty cool, but you're right. It comes down to who's the person behind it, who's the one controlling it, because it's going to be only as good. It's really just like your art, like who's actually doing the art. And it's really the same with GPT or AI.
Whenever you ask it a question or you phrase it, that's what really gets the meat and potatoes with it, right?
Yeah, and even knowing who to reference. Like if I'm referencing a copywriter, I'm going to say, hey, write like Jay Abraham or Dan Kennedy, or, and then it will actually pull those models. But if you don't know that, it's going to be generic and crap.
Yep. I totally agree. I think that there, of course, whenever there's any kind of change, right, there's going to be people that resist it.
Yeah.
But I read a book a long time ago about Humu Machi's.
Yeah.
Yeah, a very simple book.
Didn't you give me that book? Yeah.
It's a very simple book, right?
Yeah.
And I actually would recommend everybody read it. And basically, it's the premise of it is just being accepting change, and like you can fight the change, but you're really not going to get anywhere because it's going to change, right? So you just have to kind of embrace change and adapt with it. And I think that's for orthodontists. Sometimes we don't do that, but the ones that are really successful do.
Thanks for taking the time to sit down. And I know you've been filming all day, but it's been good to sit down in person and chat.
Dude, I love it, man. We should do this more often.
Yeah, let's do it.